نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Most distinguished guest of honor, Dr. العلیم, the chairman of this institution, Dr. Umair, and the distinguished guests who are sitting here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. After a very detailed and a thorough account of the various facets of Maulana Abdul Aleem Siddiqui al-Qadiri, I have little to add, but taking cue from his discussion and one of the events that I would want to bring to light in this audience is that while he was in Mindanao, which Dr. Saab explained, a very interesting incident took place, and which shows the extent of his spiritual prowess. Maulana Abdul Aleem Siddiqui was addressing a crowd on a Sunday in Mindanao, and a gentleman by the name of Dumakao Alanto, he was a member of the Senate of Philippines, and he was also from the royal hierarchy. He got up in the morning and he found that none of his servants were there at the house. So he asked his wife as to what was the reason that nobody's there. Where have they gone? So the lady replied that there's an oriental magician in the city. And everybody has crowded to listen to his lecture. And this was stated by Dumakao to himself, because when he came over here, when the sad demise of my father took place, he came to pay his respects at the grave there. And he mentioned this account also. He confirmed this account also, that he was very annoyed at the fact that none of his servants were there. So he took upon himself to go and question the oriental magician, as he said. He went to that event, and out of turn, you found that Maulana Abdul Aleem Siddiqui at that time was about to begin his prayers, having finished his lecture. So he said in a loud voice that, why are you people trying to deceive these simpletons? Where is God? You talk about God. Where is God? And my father was also there with him. And then he also said that he was a graduate from Oxford in philosophy, and he would like to find out, discover by himself, where is God? My father intervened and he said that he would like to answer this question. But Nanajan said, no, let me handle it. And Nanajan said, would you like to see God? He said, yes, I want to see God. So according to the description that I got, Nanajan had his hands like this, and he bowed towards his heart. And a second later, this man cries aloud, I've seen God, I've seen God, I've seen God. And then he fell unconscious, right there and then. Later on, when he came out of his unconsciousness, he held on to the feet of Nanajan and said, I want to become a Muslim right now, at this very moment. And then he accepted Islam. And this man, Senator Dumakao Alanto, remained the president of the Muslim Association of Philippines for all his life, until his death. He died somewhere around, I think, 1980. This was one of the facets of his personality. Dr. Ansari beautifully explains this phenomenon. He says there are 5 facets of a personality. There's a physical personality, there's an intellectual personality, there's a moral personality, there's an aesthetic personality, and there is a spiritual personality. And the profoundness of a spiritual personality is such that when one starts living in the spiritual personality, you see all these phenomena. Why? Because the spirit is not contained in the spatio-temporal dimension. It does not exist in space, it does not exist in time. And all these awliya Allahs, the friends of Allah, if you see them, if you probe through their personality, you will find that in almost all the cases, there are people whose actual abode is their spiritual form. It is very essential to understand as to why these missionaries, when they went, forsaking all the worldly pleasures, living in luxury, whatever, they forsake all that. Even in such cases like Buddha, he was a prince. But the fondness of search and the fondness for perfection and the fondness for reaching the ultimate reality, that was what made them what they were as illuminaries. They illuminated the world. And the way they did that was charismatic in all its forms. Intellectually, if you see, Maulana Abdul Aleem Siddiqui, his dialogue with George Bernard Shaw, you read through it and you'll find essentially the superiority of the intellect in Maulana Abdul Aleem Siddiqui was absolutely superlative. Awesome. You have that transcription. It's in booklet form. And you find that the arguments and the extent of the scope of his foresight and his overview of the world affairs was so strong that Bernard Shaw had to say that the only religion that can attract and that can reign in the world is Islam. What was that? We have to go deeper into this. When the eminent speaker who spoke before me just mentioned about his caliber, his childhood days and his memorization of the Quran at the age of 10. What was it? These are some things which give you pointers. And these pointers are very important for us to learn if we want to know exactly what his personality was portraying. At 10 years, that's a very tender age. Of course, my father had done it at about when he was 6.5. But then these are pointers that give us a lot of insight into those people who were chosen for a certain mission. There were people who were alert. They were trying to discover what life is. Why are they here? What is the purpose of their life? What should be the mission of their life? Why have they been created by the Lord Almighty? By the magnificent Creator who created this world in 6 cosmic days, cosmic periods. Magnificent Creator who says, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْءًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونُ. For whatever He desires, He has just to mention kun, and it happens. The magnificent Creator, Allahu Akbar. The magnificence cannot be manifested in words of a simpleton like me, but by the grace that He has already put in the Quran, which portrays His magnificence. And we are repeatedly told to recite this, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. We are living in a complex world. We are living now in a global world, and the intricacies of this globalization has been mentioned by Dr. Zahar. But we must understand the fact that the identity of a Muslim basically forms when he follows the Sunnah and the moral code which is contained in the Quran. The repository is the Sunnah. Embodies the entire Sunnah. Truth, piety, dynamism, orthodoxy, everything is wisdom, is all contained in the Quran and Sunnah. And if we are able to formulate a system of education wherein we try to create and impress upon that individual who is in the early days, in the thought forming stages, the fact that we are the recipients of the greatest gift in the form of our Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the guidance in the form of Quran, which clearly states that everything that is in this world, it expounds everything that is contained in this world. Very clearly it states, Hudam wa Rahmah, guidance and the Rahmah and the glad tidings for Muslims. All of that is here with us. What we need to do is to refresh ourselves and find the answers that we have in that holy book of guidance, and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The first sermon that he went to give to the pagans of that time, he asked the question, if I say that an army is coming from behind this hillock, would you believe me? And all of them said, yes, we would, because you're Sadiqul Ameen. This was the character. And this is the base that builds the character. Truth. Truth is the base. See, in today's environment, how much of truth prevails here. Everybody, almost everybody, should be shamed to see the fact that we, at one time or the other, are liable to speak untruth and create a barrier between us and the Lord Almighty. Because it is said that for 40 days, none of your prayers will be accepted if you speak one lie. Because he says in the Quran also that a lie is such a formidable sin that you lose iman. Yaqeenan wo be-iman hai. Have we understood the basic essence of religion? It is a code of life. It's a practical code of life where the spirit, the soul, is the essential personality. That is your essential personality, because this body is going to be decimated. It will not exist. The consciousness that you have is in your soul. Alastu bi rabbikum. It is in your soul. The Lord Almighty asks all those souls, and the souls respond to Him. How do they respond if there was no consciousness? So the consciousness rests in your soul, which is your essential trait, which is going to go forward in the process of evolution. Is only the maybe the first or second phase, a phase prior to your birth, and the phase later after your birth, and then the phase hereafter, which has no death. You're going to live infinity. So, I would not take too much of your time because it's already past 9. I would like to be brief. Already we have covered a lot of ground by Maulana Abdul Aleem Siddiqui's traits explained to us by Dr. Ibrahim Al-Adin, a very enlightening lecture, a very illuminating lecture. And I would like to thank such people for this commendable work that they do, the time that they take out, the effort that they put in. The other gentleman that I spoke about to Dr. Al-Adin was the gentleman who's written the biography of my father, Dr. Ansari, Abdul Qadir Shogle, from South Africa. He hadn't met him as such. He was a very young child when my father went there. But he was so impressed that later on, after his retirement, he said his first ambition was that he should write about Dr. Ansari. So he came on his own personal account to Pakistan. He went to Aligarh. He went to Meerut. He went to all those places where my father was a resident of. And he collected data. And then he came back to me and stayed here for 3 days, asking me various questions. But look at the merit of that person and Dr. Al-Adin. The love that they have for the religion, and the love they have for such luminaries who are an inspiration for all times to come. They are powerful personalities, stalwarts in the field of Islam. And they have done justice to their cause, their mission. They had a mission to accomplish. It was not just raw life. trying to accumulate, amass wealth and worldly glamour. These were people who had dedicated their life to conform to Sunnah and the pattern given by, the moral code given by the Quran. They should be graded on that scale. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I know I have taken a lot of your time.